Great to be with you, and thank you for being on this webinar. I am, going to do everything in my power this evening to make it worth your while and add some value to you. Just to get us going, who is here for the very first time? Who's on the webinar for the very first time? If you just raise your hand, and that'll give me an idea who's on for the first time. Paddy, Katlejo, Lolo, no, Queen, no, Queen, Bulindlela. Who else? Anyone else?
David says he can't hear you.
Well, welcome for the first time. So just by way of introduction, those of you guys that don't know me, my name's Barry Mitchell. I have a business called Uncovering Greatness. And for the last 12 years, I've worked alongside a guy called Blair Singer. Some of you might have heard of Blair Singer. He's a Rich Dad Advisor, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Advisor. I've worked alongside Blair in the area of sales, communication, and largely entrepreneurship. So my passion is building entrepreneurs, and through that journey and Blair's connection to Robert Kiyosaki over the last couple of years, I've been very blessed to work very closely with Robert and run a number of programs alongside him now that we've been able to develop. So just great to be with you. As I said, I have a passion for building entrepreneurs. I also have a passion for building teachers and trainers, and expanding knowledge. I'm a huge believer in the education system, but the education system for entrepreneurs. So another question that I'd like to ask you is this: how many of you are entrepreneurs? And Arvin says he's having trouble hearing me. Marlon, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Barry, you're coming through perfectly on my end. I'm actually just checking. Oh, he
okay.
says now. He's got it now.
Okay, good, Arvin. So if you guys will just show of hands again, who of you are, let's go, who of you are business owners? You're self-employed, or you own your own business, your partners. Okay, great. Okay, good. So it looks like a pretty even mix of people. So Debbie, you're a business owner, aren't you? Margret, you're a business owner?
Yeah.
So just keep your hands up. Marlon, just
put their hands down soon after.
Okay, cool. So you get used to this. Once you put your hand up, sometimes just let Marlon run it from his side, and then it keeps the interaction going. Okay, good. So number of you are business owners, and a number of you are employees. So tonight's discussion really is around what's the difference between an employee and an entrepreneur. Now, the reason I am excited about this topic is because one of the things that I see too many business owners starting businesses and running it as though it's a job. How many of you can connect with what I've just said? So I watch a lot of people come out, start a business, and they go from being an employee to running a business, and that business then becomes their job, and their whole existence is generating money to pay themselves out of their business. Now, my belief and my experience is that business and a job are two different things. You can have a job working for your business, but your business is an entity on its own that you need to grow, nurture, and feed. So tonight we're going to talk about that, the difference between entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur, and being a business owner. So any questions to get going? I love being interactive. Please, if you have any questions, post them. Any questions on this topic that you'd like to know, and towards the end, any questions around entrepreneurship, around sales, around finance, creating wealth, just bomb them up. If there's anything you want to comment on, please feel free to do that. If you would like to speak, put a comment, please unmute me, and we'll have a conversation. So again, welcome. Great having you here. So what is an entrepreneur? Just do me a favor, type in the chat box very quickly what your definition of an entrepreneur is. What's your definition of an entrepreneur? Some of you like me, slow typists. Okay, good. So Debbie says someone who works with themselves, someone who sees opportunities. From Patty. Creating jobs and solving problems. Okay. Okay, good. So my favorite definition for an entrepreneur is somebody who organizes, operates, and assumes the risk for a business entity. So I'll say it again. Someone who organizes, operates, and assumes the risk for a business entity. So does that make sense? So the question to ask yourself is, are you organizing, are you operating, and are you assuming the risk? And how much of the risk are you assuming, and are you prepared to assume? There's a professor from Harvard University that has a really great description of what is an entrepreneur, and it goes something like this. Entrepreneurship is an approach to management that we define as follows: the pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently controlled. Now it's quite a profound distinction, this piece around the pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently controlled. So think about it. If you're an employee, your game is about controlling the resources, isn't it? How many of you can connect with that statement? You're just showing of hands. Yeah. But as an entrepreneur, it's often without regard to resources controlled. So let me talk about that a little bit more. So why do people want to become entrepreneurs? But they always often have the excuse that they can't quit their job. Some of the excuses: I don't have any money, I don't have any contacts, I don't know enough, my product's not organized. The reality is, whatever those excuses that they make, the real reason for those excuses is often a fear of risk and a fear of losing security. So a key distinction between an entrepreneur and an employee is the difference between security and freedom. How many of you understand? How many of you connect with what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Okay, good. So how many of you are still stuck on security? So Robert Kiyosaki has a really great description around security. He says, the more secure you want to be, the less freedom you have. Take it to its extreme. Somebody who is in jail is very, very secure, but not very free. And that often happens with creating money, creating wealth, and building a business. There's that conflict between trying to be secure and the conflict between trying to create freedom. Great entrepreneurs chase freedom. Great employees chase security. Does that make sense? Anyone like to comment on that? How many of you have been in those situations? How many of you are in that situation at the moment? Anyone like to comment? Patty, Lucia, if you guys want, open up your mic. We can have a discussion on this.
Yes, absolutely. Lucia talking.
Hi, Lucia. How's it? How are you doing?
Giving yourself.
Good, very good.
Good.
What are your thoughts around that?
You know what? It's brilliant that you say an employee actually want security, because I think most people tend to look for security long term, but they forget to look strategically for their own lives in terms of how do I get out of this situation to actually become financially free, the business working for me instead of me working for the business. So
Okay, good.
we need to plan around how do we build ourselves up around what we have and what can support us long term, so that we can have enough money so we can become financially free, but still have an income to actually carry you and place you in a place where you can become financially free, but still do what you love and still give to the people you need to give to.
Okay, great. So you make some great points there. So what holds many self-employed people, many entrepreneurs, what holds them stuck?
I think most of the stuff is that people think that, you know, the budgets and the selling, because I'm not a person that can sell. I can do plans, I can draw up strategies, I can design things.
Okay, can I share something with you?
Yes.
You've just sold. Right now, you've just sold. You sold yourself on a reason why you can't sell.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, right now, you just sold yourself on a reason why you can't sell. Every time you say, I can't sell, you sell yourself into that belief.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So I can sell. I just need to believe in what I'm selling.
Well, potentially. The reality is this year, everybody sells. Like it or not, everybody sells all the time. How you speak to people, how you conduct yourself, whether you're happy or sad, everything is a sale. The most important question is not can we sell? What do you think the most important question is?
Well, I think most probably, what do you have to sell that is useful to other people?
Okay. So the real question to ask is not do I sell, because that's a given. All of us sell. What are other people buying? When we are doing what we're doing, being who we do, talking to who we're talking, how we're talking, what are other people buying?
What they need.
And what they buy is determined by how we conduct ourselves and our level of communication. Does that make sense?
What you're saying is that even if they don't need it, I can sell it to them.
No. So what I'm saying is that all of us sell. So just going back to your comment that I don't sell, or I'm not in sales, or I'm not a good salesperson. We're always selling. What you got to be asking is, what are people buying? So the response that you get from other people is based on what you're selling.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. I was in Checkers the other day, and I was with my daughter. She's at university, and she came home for the weekend. And those of you that have kids at university know that one of the reasons they come home is to fill up the trolley so that they can have food in res. And we were walking through the aisle chatting, and we bumped into someone who were chatting. This woman and her husband came down the aisle and knocked into my daughter, knocked into the shelf, and a whole lot of stuff fell off. And this woman grunted at my wife, pushed at my daughter, pushed past and went around the aisle. About 30 seconds later, there's this huge commotion going on in the aisle next door. People are swearing and shouting and screaming. And I turned to my wife. I said, I'll put money on it that the lady that just walked past us is in the middle of that confrontation. And sure as nuts, she was in the middle of the confrontation. So by the way she acted and what she did, sold response from other people that created the results, whether she wanted it or not. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. A smile will draw a smile, and a sour face will draw a sour face, and what you sell will you sell, and whatever you give, people will accept.
100%. So you go back to that. It's about selling. So let's talk about what you talked about people getting stuck. So one of the major reasons why business owners, self-employed people, that people get stuck is because they think like an employee when they own their own business. So they're thinking about security, and when you're too security conscious, you become you less and less are you likely to take risk. Now, great entrepreneurs take risk, but they take very calculated risks. So part of the shift between being an employee and an entrepreneur and growing a good business is shifting that mindset from security to freedom. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Lucia. Great contribution. Thank you. Anyone else? Katlego, have you got any comments? Your hand's up.
Hello, Barry, how are you?
Very good on you, buddy.
I'm awesome. Well, the situation I've seen us getting stuck in is the prospecting part. You know, like for example, in Gauteng, we've got this huge pool of clients. And then when you offer services where you're not offering products, you're offering services. It is, selling is not the issue, but now identifying who to sell to is the issue. Because like, for example, my office would do 50 to 100 calls per day. You see, prospecting clients. But now the issue is the amount of people we find interested. Out of every 100 calls, we find only one. Such that how do we get to focus, like qualifying the client in a way that we don't waste time on selling to the wrong people, selling to the right people?
That's a great question. So the question is are you clear on who your target customer is?
Yes. It's getting the target customer, getting the people who are interested.
Are you what product do you sell? What service do you sell?
Well, one of them is website design and search engine optimization.
Okay, good. So who's your ideal customer?
My ideal customer is right now at this point is a small business that's looking to increase for example, a small business that's not online yet or is online, but that's looking to increase leads from their online platform.
Okay, good. So a small business, what do you mean by a small business?
My ideal customer.
What do you mean by a small business?
Small business, I mean businesses that are at least having 10 employees minimum.
Yeah.
Turning over at least 3 to 5 million profits.
Okay, can I share something with you?
Yeah.
That's not a small business.
What is it?
That's moving into medium size.
Is it medium?
So part of it is, so the question is getting real clarity on what it is that client wants, what it is that you deliver on, and can you solve the problems that they have. So the art of sales is going out and finding problems that you can solve. Too many people are out there talking to people who they think are their clients, trying to sell them something that the client actually doesn't want, and then spend the whole time trying to convince them why they're wrong. So understanding right up front who your client really is the start.
Mm-hmm.
And what it sounds like, if you're making 100 calls and you're closing one client, there's a couple of things. One, you're talking to the wrong people,
mm-hmm.
or two, the language that you're talking is not connecting to the language that they want to hear. So it's highly likely that either when you're selling or when your team is selling, they are telling, not selling.
I understand that part. One of the challenges we've had with prospective clients, I mean, for example, we buy leads where people are interested in websites. We noticed that more than 50% of the leads we buy, the client, literally one of the clients today told me, I thought a website is 1,000 rand. So I said, no, our cheapest website is 6.4. Then he says, no, I can't pay that kind of money. So they're not understanding the value that we're providing. They're not understanding the investments that we're giving to them.
Not necessarily. They're not understanding the value. You're going after the wrong people. If they think that a website's $1,000, they're not your client. Does that make sense? You can convince them until you're blue in the face that they don't understand value. But if they do not want to spend more than 1,000 rand, they're not going to understand your value. You may be right or wrong. It's irrelevant. If I think that my budget is 1,000 rand and that's all I'm going to spend, you can sit and tell me how wrong I am and how I don't understand value. I'm not going to budge. In fact, the more you tell me I'm wrong, the more I'm going to stick where I'm at. Does that make sense? So you've got to be looking for clients that are prepared to spend 6,500 rand and up on websites. So your message out into the market has got to be creating that in terms of spend. can you get a website built for R1,000?
No. So are you saying we shouldn't waste time with?
I can get a website built right now for about $80.
Yeah. But the difference.
I can go into Fiverr and I can get a website built. Now, that's not the target market that you're going after. So if that target market is prepared to go to Fiverr and pay $100 for a website or $80 for a website, that's not your target market. So you've got to shift your target market. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it makes sense. So are you saying I shouldn't waste time on those people who want to spend that kind of money?
Well, are you closing deals?
Yeah, not with them, because I feel like the type of websites they're looking for, it's not going to work for them.
Yeah, so what you're doing is spending lots of time speaking to the wrong people.
We should just cut them off and move on to the right people.
Well, it's not always cut them off, because what happens in 2 years' time if they have a larger business? So you always nurture people, but don't have an expectation that you might close them now. It's exactly in the game that I'm in. There's some people, and some of you will be on the call tonight, where you don't spend money on education as an entrepreneur, and there'll be some people on this call where you'll go to free events, but you haven't transitioned to invest in yourself. Are you an ideal client for me right now? No, because you're not going to spend 9,995 Rand on my next sales program.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so however, does it mean that I forget about you? No, I keep you connected. I create value to you, and over a period of time, as you grow, as your mindset changes, so you may move through the process. But I have a different level of focus in different areas. Does that make sense? By a show of hands, is this helping you guys? Does what we're talking about right now make sense? So you got to be building people up. You know, when I meet someone and I sell them and I introduce them to our programs, and I find out no, they're not interested at all, because I realize that they actually don't even invest in themselves and their education. I can't expect them to suddenly buy. And the reality is this: is if I did expect them to buy, I would be way out. So what I've got to start doing is working with them to transition them over a period of time to enable them to be able to use my product and go from there. If I spend my time trying to convince them why they're wrong and tell them you don't understand the power of education and you'll build your business, I just waste my breath. They back into a corner and no one wins. So it's about sales, about meeting people where they're at and moving them through a process. Daniel Pink has the most amazing description of sales. He says, sales is the art of moving people. Now, people move at different speeds, different times, different timing. You've got to be creating that movement, but you've got to be speaking to the right people at the right time for the right timing to create a sale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Very much sense.
Very good. Great question. Thank you. Okay, great. So Lucia says, target market needs to be exact. In my business, Mind Prince, handicapped sons jewelry, I'm creating a market by making it exclusive and design and manufacture limited. Yeah, so Lucia, over a period of time, you'll define your target market. Many people start businesses and they think they know who they're going to sell to. I hear this often. Who are you going to sell your product to? No, everyone's going to buy my product. It's so good. I go, okay, well, we'll see. And then I meet them a year later and they still haven't found everybody. In fact, they found nobody. So more clarity you get around understanding who your target market is, who the right people are, why they buy from you, the easier it makes it. However, what I see with many people is they're sitting waiting to make sure they find the target market and don't take any action. One of the best ways to find who the target market is get out there, take action, measure, and start creating an idea of exactly who buys from you, if that makes sense. So Patty says, qualify your customer. Yeah, Patty, for various sides, get clarity around who your customer is. I'll say it again. Many small, medium-sized, self-employed business owners, or not even self-employed, medium-sized businesses are not clear on who their target market is. When I go in and run sales programs, often I'll ask the question, who could buy your product? you'll be surprised at how many people say, everybody, my products. No. So a BMW customer is a BMW customer, a Mercedes customer is a Mercedes customer. If you're an avid BMW fan, you're probably not going to buy Mercedes. Why would I spend lots of time and effort talking to you to try and convince you that BMW is better when I could actually just go out and find people who like BMW? Now, it takes work. One of the things in sales is many people are not prepared to do the work. Does that make sense? So sales is an action game. When you do the work, everything else comes through. Cool. What other questions do we have? Tavi Singh says it's difficult to be an entrepreneur. I sometimes wish I was a full-time employee. Tavi Singh, it is difficult. It is hard to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, but it's also difficult being an employee. It depends what you want. I'll never be an employee again. Never. I can't be an employee. I just couldn't operate in that realm. No, there's nothing wrong with it. So the difference is if you want, when you want to be an entrepreneur, you've got to understand what is it that an entrepreneur does. What is it? How does an entrepreneur think? It's a distinct difference in mindset between an employee and an entrepreneur. It's a distinct difference in education. So yeah, it is difficult. Building a business is difficult. And one of the things that really grates me is the amount of people that are out there saying, get rich quick. Building a business is not about making money. Building a business is about adding value to the world and humanity. And when you add value, you create wealth. Now, wealth is made over time. Money can be made overnight. So I think there's a huge misconception around building a business and between building a business and making money, if that makes sense. And if your mindset is not geared into what it is that you need to go on the journey to create a business, not something that generates money so you have something to cover your costs. Build a business, something that is sustainable, something that over a period of time creates something bigger than yourself. It is difficult. It is hard. Okay, that's why the failure rate of businesses is something like 5%. 5%, or the survival rate of small businesses, 5% within 10 years. If you had to go to university and you were told you have a 5% chance of passing, would you go? And Tabi saying, would you go if you had a 5% chance of passing university? Lucia says definitely not. No. So what happens is it's very different. Entrepreneurs are paid for what? Entrepreneurs are paid for results. Employees are paid for work. Okay? I'll say it again. Entrepreneurs are paid for results. It doesn't matter how much flipping work I do not get paid to work. I get paid to create results. Okay? It's a big distinction. Too many self-employed people tell me, I'm really busy, I'm busy. And the question I ask is, busy doing what? Busy creating results or busy working in your job? Is this making sense? The question is, what results are you creating? I've just had that discussion with my team. And as Marlon said, most of my team are self-employed people who come in and I create an outsourced system, but we work together. Every Monday we meet. And I had the same discussion with them. How many things are we doing that people are just doing things because we're doing them, but we're not actually creating results? If you're not creating results, you're not going to get paid as an entrepreneur. So you've got to get out and create results. If you're not creating results as a salesman, you're not going to get paid. You know, I meet too many salespeople that say to me, but I need an increase because I've worked hard. Who cares? You get an increase because you create results. Does that make sense? You refly a great airline because they give you results, not because they worked hard. Is this making sense? Yeah, Patty, so you see the difference in mindsets. Patty says if you think being an entrepreneur is easy, rather stay being an employee. But it all comes down to mindset. It all comes to what you want. So in Tavi saying, what I read into what you're saying is it's much easier to be an employee because you get security. So you can rock up every day. Yes, you might work hard, but at the end of the month, you guarantee that you're going to get paid in most businesses. Yes, You guarantee that you're going to get paid. As an entrepreneur, it's the results you create determines how much money you make. Too many entrepreneurs, too many self-employed people, too many small business owners, S-quadrant people are sitting on their butt waiting for business to come to them. It takes work. It takes work, consistent over time, but it takes the right work to create that difference. Is this making sense? So, well, Lucio, if you join a franchise, well, the power of a franchise is a system. You're still an entrepreneur. The only difference is what you do is you get a system. Now, what many entrepreneurs struggle with is they struggle to hold to the system. So when it's having a franchise is a great way to create a business and build a business and generate wealth. I've got some mates that own some massive franchises, or franchisors and franchisees, and have created some massive wealth. For me personally, I struggle in a franchise because I'm more creative. I like creating stuff. I like building products. I want to create something. Not that I want to create something of my own, because for me, I'm very committed to a team. So I'm part of Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Advisors team in terms of what I teach and what I train and the mission that I'm on. I mean, our mission to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. I'm part of Blair Singer's team. So I follow a set of rules. I follow a context, but a franchise is a very structured system, if that makes sense. So to start off with, that's often great. One area where I often say to employees, if you want to learn about business, go into a network marketing business. Now, I know for some of you on here, I've created a few little voices. Yes, go into a network marketing business. One of the best areas of learning and knowledge can be learned in network marketing. And for people that really apply themselves, can create some real wealth. But if you go, Robert says this, if you go into a network marketing business, make a commitment and be there for 5 years, you will get an incredible learning around business. One of the most important things you'll learn in network marketing business is what entrepreneurs need, and it's called people skills. The art of communication, connecting with people. Now, you can be an employee and have crappy people skills and get through your job. But as an entrepreneur, you want to do really well. You want to build teams. It's a skill. So there's another area to be able to go into that. Does that make sense? So let me give you a couple of other differences between entrepreneurs and employees. So an entrepreneur is driven by the perception of opportunity. An employee is driven by controlling of resources. Does that make sense? So what drives an entrepreneur is get out and create opportunities. What drives an employee is how can I control resources? How can I be the boss? How can I control what I have to manage? Okay, does that make sense? Second one is when it comes to how do you set up management? An entrepreneur generally likes to operate with a flat, sort of informal structure. So in my business, I have a pretty flat, informal structure. I've got people that I connect with, that I network, that we create a whole lot of stuff. I don't control them. I have some control, a little bit of control, but for most of the time, it's based on agreements and negotiations and excitement and visions and missions. Employees operate within a formalized hierarchy in multiple tiers. So very, very structured in terms of management. Now, often when you're building a business, one of the things that we teach in business is we call it the path to power. How to build a business from what we call just an idea. So inception all the way to power. So any business starts with non-existence. You start non-existent, you have an idea, you launch the business, then you exist, then you emerge, then you go through a process. Now, sadly, what happens is many entrepreneurs are really great at getting it to a position where it's generating stuff. And then what happens is they start messing with it. That's when your business gets big enough, when you start moving it into what Robert talks about, from the S quadrant into the B quadrant. That's when you really need to start hiring people around you that have a very structured management type of structure. So now you start building a business with structured employees, and it manages the system. Is this making sense and adding value to you guys? Because I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs and as small business owners, as medium-sized business owners, we get lost in between these two things. The third one is, what is it that you want when it comes to reward? Well, in terms of reward, entrepreneurs are value-driven, performance-based, team-oriented. You've got to be if you want to build a business. Many people get stuck. Many people get stuck in the what do you call it, in the S quadrant, because they're not team-oriented, because they focused on driving it themselves and say things like, I do it myself because it gets done properly, and I'm not going to hire anyone because they're too expensive. And those things cost money and keep us stuck. So good entrepreneurs become very team-oriented, very performance-based and value-driven. Employees, security-driven, resource-based, and job promoted oriented. How do I rise up the hierarchy in order to earn more money? As an entrepreneur, I'm not actually interested in a hierarchy. For me, it's about, I have people on my team, like Marlon, for example. Marlon is highly skilled at doing what Marlon does, and Marlon contributes it to our team. So when Marlon's doing what he's doing, he's the boss. He's in charge as long as he delivers results. If he doesn't deliver his results, his business is not going to make money. He's got to deliver results. Right, Marlon?
Yes, Barry, 100% correct.
So is this making sense for you guys? So it's the understanding of the difference between the two, and that difference is largely around mindset. A lot of the problem, I believe, comes from the fact of where we come from and how we condition. We went to school. School taught us, play by ourselves, don't fail, get good results, get a job, from your good education, make lots of money. It's the opposite of what being an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is, well, often your results from school actually have no bearing on you building a business, unless you're a specialist. But even then, your ability to specialize in what you do will only take you so far. You've got to be able to operate outside that, build teams, and hire the right people. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to make mistakes. You've got to be prepared to go out there, create opportunities, but be prepared to make mistakes. School doesn't teach mistakes. School teaches employees. How many of you have been employees or are employees, get rewarded for making mistakes? My experience when I was in the corporate world, I got into trouble when I made mistakes. And because I had an entrepreneurial mindset, I was often trying to get my sales teams to go out there, try things, but they were so stuck in not doing the wrong thing, doing it right, that it just boxed them in. Does that make sense? So Patty asks, can you explain Robert Kiyosaki's quadrants? 100%. So Patty, I am going to just switch over here. You guys won't be able to see me for a few seconds. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into whiteboard, and I'll explain it to you now. Patty, so you guys can see that okay? Okay, good. So what Robert teaches is this, but he says there's 4 areas in any business where money can be made. And those 4 areas are E for employee, S for self-employed or specialist, B for business owner, and I for investor. So an employee generates income from a job, okay? A self-employed person or a specialist, funny enough, also generates income from a job. The only difference is as self-employed people, we employ ourselves and have to pay ourselves. Does that make sense? So the core difference between the left side of the quadrant and the right side of the quadrant is on the left side, employees and self-employed people work for money. On the right side of the quadrant, business owners, or as Robert likes to call it, big business owners. So those are companies that have teams of greater than 500, often are listed, or large companies. So business owners and investors, they get money to work for them. And it's a key difference between building a BI entrepreneurial business and a self-employed security-based business. So that's where a lot of people get stuck. Does that help, Patty? So our goal, if you want to create, can you make a lot of money as self-employed? Yes, of course you can. I've got doctors and lawyers that are self-employed, run their practices, but they become the magic. One of the problems that I've had in the last 12 years is the better I've got at teaching, the more successful I've become, the more I've traveled around the world teaching, the more I've connected with the likes of Kiyosaki, Blair Singer, and those people, the more I become the magic, the more people come after me to get me to do the work. Now, that keeps me stuck here. S also, by the way, stands for stuck. So that can keep me stuck here. So my core objective is to build a team. So right now, for the last 18 months, my focus has been building a team of trainers that teach, train, and operate in the methodology that we teach, train, and operate. What that allows me to do is free up. That's on the one side. The other thing it allows me to do, it allows me to do this. It allows me to follow our mission. And our mission at Uncovering Greatness is to make a significant impact on the entrepreneurial landscape in South Africa and Africa. And our goal in the next 10 years is to put 1 million entrepreneurs through our programs. Now, why do I want to put 1 million entrepreneurs through our programs? Because I believe that education in entrepreneurship is seriously, seriously lacking. Now, I can't put 1 million entrepreneurs myself in 10 years. It's physically impossible. It is not possible. The only way that I can do it is I have to build a team that is on the same mission as me. And when I find a team on mission, that's when we create scale. That's when we create duplication. Now, my job as an employee, yes, you want to build a team, but you want to build a team that does the right things to allow you to be able to be successful in your position. Does that make sense? So fundamental difference in how we think. So does that answer that, Patty? Debbie, that is a great question. How long does it take to get the business running successfully? Well, it depends on what you determine successfully. So Debs, why don't you open up your mic and we'll have a discussion.
Hi, Barry.
Hey, Debs, how's it? Yo, okay, give me some context. What do you mean successfully?
Okay, I knew you were going to ask me that question. So we follow the right way of how to set up your business. We set the goals, we've got the purpose, we've got the mission. But when obviously you're setting those goals and you're accountable for that, sometimes it's difficult to feel like you have achieved. So you achieve those 3 to 5 year goals and you think, no, I still want more. So now you do the 10-year goals and it's going according to plan. How do you know that that's success? If you just keep thinking, is this a weird question? But you are achieving what you've set out to achieve. So 10 years down the line, is that enough?
Debbie, if I go to the gym and I decide I want to lose 5 kgs in the next 6 months, and I lose 5 kgs in the next 6 months, is that success?
Yes.
Okay, good. If I go to the gym and decide that in the next 6 months, I want to drop 20 kgs, get to 8% body fat, and be ripped as hell, and I achieve that, is that success?
Yeah.
So, what do you determine your success to be, and where do you want to take your business? What I do see a lot of times, though, is people have an unrealistic expectation of what they think it is to be successful in business. Too many people are chasing money and not creating value. So where people get lost is they get lost on this. It's about money. It's about money. It's about money. Now, Buckminster Fuller taught this. He said, you have an option. You have an option in any business. You can do one of these two things. You can either make money, or you can make sense.
Yeah.
And they're mutually exclusive. Great entrepreneurs go out to make sense. They go out to create value in the world, to add value in the world. Because the reality is this: people buy value. What is money? Money is just an exchange of value. So the more value you add to the world, the more people will pay for that value. Now, there's a lot of business owners that are out there that are very short-term thinking, and it's about making money today, and that's also survival thinking. Does that make sense? So we get stuck in the survival thinking rather than creating long-term. Businesses are built over long-term. You know, I often say this in the Sales Explosion program, Sales and Leadership Mastery program. Debbie, you've heard me say it a number of times. It's easy to make money. It is. Money's easy to make. You just have to be good at sales, learn how to sell, find something to sell, and you can make money. You know, there's many ways to make money. But if all you're doing is chasing money, often what happens is we chase money at the expense of the business, at the expense of the customers, at the expense of everything else, and it doesn't create any long-term growth. So we just come out of the school of being on mission and creating value in the world. And if all of us actually went out there to truly add value. Now, lots of people pay lip service to this stuff. Truly add value to the world. How many of you think we'd create a very different environment rather than just chasing money? Look at the mess we're in because people are chasing money. I read it when I read posts on Facebook. The amount of times I read people that are advising people in business and are creating positive messages, and I hear things like, it's all about the money. When you get the money, do I do business for money? Yes, but money is a tool that I use to create what I need to create. Does that make sense, Tibbs?
Perfect sense, Barry. Yeah, thank you.
So how long does it take for your business to be successful? Well, it depends where you go. I spent 10 years mastering what Blair Singer does. And once I got to really understand how to teach, train, and really understand how to teach in his way, and now that I teach his programs around the world, I'm starting to move into the next phase of my business. Now, funny, when I read books, some of Robert's books, and many other entrepreneur guys, they talk about 7 to 10 year cycles. So it's a 10-year cycle. So I spent 10 years creating my business so that I was the master of what I did in my business. Now I've moved into the next 10-year cycle, but now what my whole goal is to build and teach trainers, to build a team. In fact, in our case, we want to build an army of teachers and trainers that teach and train how we train. Does that make sense? So I know that for the next 10 years, that's what I'm going to be on. Now, has it got frustrating in the last 2 years? Damn right, because I've had to learn a whole lot of new things, spend hours and hours and hundreds of flipping thousands of rands on my own mindset to shift me to do all that sort of stuff so that I can move into a different realm. So I know that for the next 10 years, I'm in a different game. Does that make sense, Debs?
Perfect sense, Barry. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely fantastic value.
Cool. Thank you, Debs. Great question. So who do we have? Boom. We're playing Robert's game on Sunday. What an eye-opener. Those of us who chose to give to charity moved much faster than those who chose not to. Yeah, it's about value. So, Lucia, those of you that Lucia is talking about Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow 101 game. Those of you that are interested, tomorrow evening I have an event that I host at the Nickel Hotel in Bedford View from 6:30 until around about 9 o'clock. It's an inexpensive program. It's 150 Rand or I think more than 400 Rand for a table of 5. Come and join us. It's called Awaken Your Financial Genius. It's an introduction to money and finance and an introduction to the game of Cash Flow 101. It's also an introduction to a program that I run, which I developed with Robert Kiyosaki, called Awaken Your Financial Genius, which is a 10-module program designed to help people create an awareness around where they sit with money. The reality is this: none of us, most of us, I'll ask you, how many of you were taught about money at school? You were taught, get a job, go make money. But we're not taught about money. I have accountant mates that aren't even taught about money. They're taught about managing other people's money. So it's about creating an awareness of what money is, how it creates, how it's created, what the rich really do to become rich, And it's not buying big Mercedes and looking flashy in 500 Rand suits. It's what do they do that allows them to be able to do that. And most people, when it comes to money, and this world is this, too many people, I believe, are acting rich rather than becoming rich. It's much easier to act rich than it is to become rich. That's a journey, and it's a journey of changing your mindset, learning, and moving on. It's the same thing. It's the journey from an employee to an entrepreneur. I mean, I give you an example. I sat down with I'm looking to open another bank account with a new bank, and I sat down with one of the business managers the other day, and I said to him, one of the problems I have with banks is that they're full of employees who do not understand business. He got offended with me. Do you know how many businesses I've helped? I said, I don't care how many businesses you've helped. You've never run a business. You've never lost money. You never failed. You've never been on the brink of, holy crap, for 3 months in a row, I haven't been able to pay my bills. And people are, when you haven't been there, you don't understand it. Yes, you can provide. Am I making sense? So the journey from employee to entrepreneur is a journey. It's a process, and you have to be able to walk the process. Most people don't want to walk the process. What they want to do is they want the result, but they're not prepared to go through the process of learning of what it is to be an entrepreneur. And that comes from making mistakes, but it's the focus on the results. So when you start creating knowledge, when you take action, when you walk through the process, and you prepare to keep walking the journey, you'll create results. The process is the journey to results, to growing your business. So Khomotso says, I must agree, when you're in the midst of professionals, the debate is different. They look into empowering themselves to work for somebody else, 100%. And you can't blame them, because that's the mindset of what happens. Now, you take a professional, you put them in their own business, what do? They think like an employee. They think about empowering themselves. They think about working for money, because that's the nature, and they struggle to build a business. So it's a mindset shift. Is that making sense? So a couple of differences. This comes out of one of Robert's books. It's called Before You Quit Your Job. And it's a book that I love, and it's a program that we've recently launched with one of the trainers in our team at Uncovering Greatness, Queen and Como. Queen, you're on the call, I think. She is, and Queen and I have been working on a program called Before You Quit Your Job, not only for employees, but also for self-employed people who are stuck. Because when you understand what it is to really be an entrepreneur, it allows you to become unstuck. So, I just, how many of you can connect to this? Too many people traded a job for another job. But the only difference is the job that you have to pay yourself. And life, there's got to be more to life than that. And it's about growing. It's about building a team. It's about moving on. But it's a journey. So the program that we run is called Before You Quit Your Job. And the next one that we're going to run is in the next one we're going to run is in March, and I think it's the 29th and 30th of March, if I got it right. So, but and it's that difference between the two. So if you're an employee wanting to know what it is to build a business, we have a 2-day program. We'll take you through that. If you're an entrepreneur and a self-employed person, and you want to understand more of what it is to be an entrepreneur, what are the differences and where you fit, is I'd encourage you, come along to that, and I'm pretty sure we'll help you shift a lot of where you're at. So the differences between employer and entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur has a mindset for freedom instead of security, has the ability to operate without money. I'll say that again. Entrepreneurs develop the ability to operate without money. You got to make a plan. How many of you know what I'm talking about? And it makes you tougher. Employees struggle to operate without money. Does that make sense? So Lucia, what we'll do is we'll send you an email with all the details of that course. Okay. So entrepreneurs have the ability to operate without security. Okay. Employees struggle to operate without security. So I'll give you an example. The reason I have the program that I do with Robert Kiyosaki is Robert said to me, do you want to pilot a program for me? I said, yes. That was it. I didn't say, what are the details? How much am I going to earn? If I do it, where are you going to pay me? I said, yes. And then I went out and created and worked with him and created a course. The deal was, here's the stuff. This is the book that we're going to base it on. Go out, create a course. Here's the context, and pilot it and tell me what happens. There was no security. It was all risk. It could have flopped. There was a whole lot of things that could have happened. But the reality is this: I knew that if I was prepared to go out and not look for security and focus on the opportunity rather than earning money and rather than the resources that I was going to gain, I could create way more. Out of that one decision, my girls, my two daughters and my wife came with me to both Bangkok and Sydney last year to speak with Robert and Kim in both those countries. And Robert's coming out to do a very unique 6-day program in May with me. How many of you wouldn't mind being in a room with Robert Kiyosaki for 6 days? So it's limited. It's 100 people. So that came out of my decision, just that decision for me to go out and take a risk and operate without security. Now, there's context around that. Entrepreneurs have different styles to manage different people. Entrepreneurs have the ability to manage people and resources they do not control. Entrepreneurs have a focus on team and value rather than pay and promotion. Employees are focused on pay and promotion. Entrepreneurs are team and value. Entrepreneurs are active learners, not graduation, as Robert puts it, not graduation day learners. And one of the biggest problems I have in the teaching entrepreneurship space is people say to me, do I get a certificate for coming to your entrepreneurship program? I go, no. You learn and shift your mindset so you can go take action to create results. You get paid for results, not certificates. My bank manager never asked me for a certificate, ever. Never asked me for my report card, my certificate, nada, nothing. The only thing he asked me for is where's my financial statement? Does that make sense? So it's very different in mindset. Entrepreneurs focus on generalized education rather than specialized education. However, as an entrepreneur, you have to become a master and specialize in a particular area. We talk about that in the program before you quit your job. And entrepreneurs have the courage to be responsible for the entire business. Now, courage is a key component of being an entrepreneur. And I want to share this with you. Security is a result of fear. And often the drive on security is a result of fear. Fear of not having enough, fear of not being able to pay bills, fear of not sending kids to school. So it's a result of fear. The driving force behind freedom is courage. The word courage comes from the French word le coeur, or the heart. The answer for choosing to be an entrepreneur is found in your heart. It's not found in the money. The result of what you find in your heart and what you pursue to make a difference in the world and add value and create change will generate you money. That will be the result. That is the exchange that people will give you. That is how you will be able to measure what you are creating. If you follow your heart. When you follow your heart, you'll create a mission. As Robert says, he chose to be an entrepreneur to be free. Freedom is more important than life itself, rather than security. So, any questions before we finish off? Did that add value to you guys tonight? If it did add value, please type in added value. So those of you that are interested, I know it's short notice, on tomorrow night at the Nickel Hotel in Bedford View. In fact, I'll tell you what, Marlon, please make a list of everyone that was on this call. There's the booking sheet, and I'll tell you what, if you guys book, come tomorrow, I will give you my book, which is called Sales is a Life Skill, which is worth 150 Rand, which means you get your seat for free because you are on the webinar tonight. So if you want to come through, join us for the Awaken Your Financial Genius. It's at the Mercure, sorry, not the Nickel Hotel. If you want to come through the Awaken Your Financial Genius introductory program, 3 hours, and you are on this call, book your ticket online. When you come, if you are on this call, I'll give you my book, which is called Sales is a Life Skill, and that means you'll get it for free. So, Patty, thank you. That was great. Even though I've worked for myself for 15 years, it's always good to get a refresher course. You never stop learning, Patty. Never stop learning. So, excellent. Any other questions or comments before we finish off? Hope you guys got value tonight, and looking forward to see you guys soon. So thank you for joining us. And my next webinar is the last Tuesday of the month. So if you put it in your diary, 7:30 the last Tuesday of the month, and 7:30 the first Tuesday of the month. So awesome having you guys on the webinar. Thank you very much. Marlon, back to you, bud.
Thanks, Barry. Insightful as always. Some great things to think about. For anybody who wants to maybe review this, it will be on the uncoveringgreatness.com website. In the webinar section, you can go through resources and then webinars, and you'll find it there. Other than that, we will connect again at the end of this month, because we run these webinars every Tuesday at the end, and the first Tuesday and the last Tuesday of every single month. So we'll catch you all then. Otherwise, just keep your mailbox sort of close to you, and you can connect with any of the events or the webinars that we'll be running. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you, Barry, again.
Thanks, everyone.